a moment. Wow.
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain and Nirvana.
Yeah.
The story behind this is this was almost an accident, right?
I call it an accident. I call it a gift from God because, okay, my 16-year-old daughter Zoe wanted to see Nirvana. I said, well, you know, I don't know those guys. I've never met them, but I know the management company. And I called them, and I got 2 tickets, and they sent a photo pass along.
How nice.
My wife said, now don't you let her out of your sight for a minute, you know, 16-year-old girl. And so we were sitting way back in the nosebleed seats, looking across, and I could see all my friends in front of the stage taking pictures. The first song, and I'm thinking, I should be down there, you know. So I turned to Zoe, I said, Zoe, honey, don't move, sit right there. And I made my way down, took the second song to get to the stage. I had the credentials. The third song, I'm already there with my camera. We could only shoot 3 songs, right? Unless you're with the band. So I'm standing there with a crowd of other photographers, and nothing is happening. In the beginning of this song, he's standing at the mic, a yellow light, just singing nothing, you know, nothing interesting. But I kept clicking away, and at the end of the song, he turned and went, oh, like that, and threw his head back, and bang. The thing is, it should have been too dark. It should have been blurry, because it was fairly dark, you know, and my camera was set kind of for the dark thing. I mean, I was so surprised when I got the film back, and that was there. So, love that.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, here's a moment, another Woodstock 94.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, Blind Melon. There's Shannon Hoon wearing a dress, berets in his hair.
Oh my God, we can see up his dress.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I remember that in the middle of the afternoon. God, it was great. He was so animated. I mean, nobody else did that, you know, that kind of leaping around.
Well, that kind of stuff didn't go on at the first Woodstock.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, I always say, here's the difference. The first Woodstock, there was no crowd surfing. Nobody had invented it. It had never been thought of, right? 94, it's tons of, I don't have a picture in here, but there was always 20, 30 people in the air being passed around like that. Woodstock 99 was topless girls on their boyfriend's shoulders, which was fun to photograph.
Now, speaking of Morrison Hotel,
there is like the first, you know, they ran, so we went down there, and the guy behind the desk said, you can't shoot any pictures inside, which we thought we would do. And I said, we got to go outside. And we went outside, and I saw that the elevator light went on, and the guy had left his desk. I said, quick, run in there, you guys. And they ran in and hit those positions. So I was right up close to the window. I started shooting like that, and then Gary Burden, my art director partner, said what he always said to me, which was, back up, get the whole thing, you know? So I backed up across the street and got the whole shot of the window, which we can see somewhere else in here. But anyway, that's why I was up close like that.
gotcha.
Here is
Rehearsal.
Well, it's not a rehearsal, it's warm up. They're about to go out on stage in Minnesota at some big coliseum. And so just before they walk out, you know, they sing the chorus of some song just to sort of get on the same wavelength. And so they're just singing.
Now, it looks like Crosby's crossing his fingers,
got his
or
fingers.
is he holding a drumstick?
No, he's got his fingers crossed.
Okay,
I don't know.
You
I don't
know anything? Have no idea why.
I think hoping they'd hit the note. Something like that.
Well, that would be a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Well, and then speaking of selfies,
Right, me, Stephen Stills, and Mickey Dolenz in '67 on tour. I was on tour with the Monkees for that summer, and when we got to Chicago, we crossed paths with the Buffalo Springfield. They were staying in the same hotel. And so Mickey and Stephen and I sat up all night, as one does, you know, partying in the room and walking around, and we walked outside and took that picture in the early morning light.
yeah, you guys look pretty baked.
Yeah, we've been up all night, you know. doing what musicians do.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, this photo looks really familiar.
Yes, and my story is that my friend Stephen Peeples called me one day and said, hey, I'm going to interview Tom Waits. You want to come along? So we went to Zoetrope, where he was kind of, I guess he spent months in this little room recording the music for One Flew Over the...
No, One from the Heart.
One from the Heart.
Yeah.
Right.
The Francis Ford Coppola film.
Francis Ford Coppola, that's right. And so there he was. The room was just big enough for a grand piano. He had papers all over the floor. You're sitting right here talking to him.
Yeah, I'm
Well, that
just
was
to the left off the screen.
Well,
That's
that
my
was one of my-
cigarette. That's my cigarette in the tray there.
Oh, there you go. I mean, one of my favorite photos. It just it's happened on the natch, you know.
When we sat down, he says he bummed a cigarette from me. He says, "You got any cigarettes?"
Of course.
He says, you know, my wife Kathleen's telling me, you know, I got to stop, but you know,
Yeah.
don't tell anybody. So Ian, you're back there taking pictures. So,
Yeah.
So here it is, basically
There it is.
immortalized,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's probably one of the last cigarettes that he smoked. I don't know. Oh,
Here, that's one that we never printed up before.
this is a new one, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
where was this?
That's at Tower Records.
An
It
in-store.
was an in-store thing for Capitol Records. In the 80s, I worked for Capitol Records a lot, kind of freelancing. And, you know, went down for that in-store thing. First time I ever saw him. Really cool. Here's the Hollywood Bowl. This was a No Nukes concert, Ban the Bomb or No Nukes or something like that. And Bruce Springsteen was playing. And I was up by that. You know what's funny is here is Neil Preston, fellow photographer.
Oh, yes.
You know, he's looking right at me, he's thinking, hey, how did Diltz get up there on the stage?
Well, you know, they're buddies too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Neil's shot a lot of Bruce.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's thinking, how the hell did Henry get up there, you know? Chris Cornell. No, Eddie Vedder.
That's Eddie, yeah.
Eddie Vedder at Lollapalooza in Orange County. Yeah. This is one I like on the ground here. It's a before and after shot of Woodstock.
Yes.
You know, this is like 2 weeks before this hillside was full of 450,000 people. And they're just building the stage down there. They just have the platform built. That's the first day I got there, 2 weeks before the concert. And I'm there with my friend Mel Lawrence, and that's his little dog Otis. We walk through the woods and come out, and that chair was just sitting there. And I like chairs, so I put that in the picture. And then 2 weeks later, after the concert was over, Monday morning, I found the same kind of a chair sitting. Maybe it was the same. No, it's different. It's a little bit different.
Slightly different.
Slightly, but yeah. And so that worked out. You know, and I it's funny, you know, that those two go together so well. I didn't think of that picture when I took that picture, but later on, you know, when you saw that.
Oh, yes.
Jimi Hendrix.
Now, this was Hollywood Bowl, right?
Right, it's the green room of the Hollywood Bowl, which means a little dressing room right off the side of the stage. And this is 67, right after Monterey Pop, where he starred up, you know. And the Mamas and Papas, of course, John Phillips was one of the producers of the festival. And so they got Jimmy to come and open up some of their, you know, open some of the concerts they were doing. And that was at the Hollywood Bowl. You know, he sat there on the couch. I took 3 or 4 pictures of him. I didn't want to bother him, you know. Had I known, well, I would have taken 3 rolls, you know. You know, he would say, get out of here. I'd say, no, one more. No. But I took a couple of shots of him because he was there opening up, you know, the concert. My job was to shoot the Moms and Papas, really. But
Well, he was kind of a new kid in town at that point. And there were, speaking of some of the other photos from the same session, there were some famous photos of yours that show him canoodling with Michelle.
yeah.
And
Michelle,
Cass
Mama
also.
Cass.
Cass is
They're
in a couple
whispering to each other.
Yeah,
Right?
and the big mystery is, what are they saying?
What are they whispering? What are they saying? You know, and it's funny. One day I asked Michelle, "What do you think? Because he whispers to Michelle and she goes, whoa, and then she whispers to Cass, and Cass goes, whoa. And you think, what are they saying? She didn't remember, and we can't ask Jimmy or Cass. We'll find out on the other side.
Exactly.
Here's the new Barbarians tour once again.
Right.
And this is a picture that I didn't see for years. I took these in '79. Sometime in the late 80s, a guy wanted to make a big poster out of one of my pictures. And I said, okay, but it's got to be something I've never printed before, right? And so he looked through proof sheets and found that. Said, this one. I said, really? Wow. Oh, okay. Now, I said I never cropped these, and I don't, but he did. This picture actually comes up to here. There's a lot of white sky, and it comes way out here. There's nothing here, but Keith was walking, and I just, I didn't have time to move in. I just took a shot, But when you cropped it in a little bit, it became...
It frames up nicely
framed
that
up
way.
Perfectly,
Yeah. And we noticed that Keith is toting his own bottle of Jack there. He didn't have
he is.
didn't have an assistant to take care of that for him
certainly is.
on this particular leg.
When we land, I think that might have been the St. Louis airport. We land on this huge jet, a jet with bars and sofas and a bedroom, And you get off the plane, walk down the steps, and there's 8 limos. And then Richard Fernandez, the road manager, says, okay, your limo's over there, you're getting that one. Henry, you jump in there with Keith and Woody, And he's looking for his limo. His limo was over here. And he's just walking towards it. Here's all the limo drivers. It's so funny.
It's like an army,
Yeah.
a fleet of limos.
Yeah.
And another fabulous
selfie.
Selfie
It's a
here.
selfie. See, I'm taking a picture. To see that thing?
Uh-huh,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah. 76.
Pretty slick.
That's the MFQ.
This is a reunion of the MFQ, though, like 10 years after,
It's
right?
10 years later, yeah. We got back together again because of the bicentennial. 1976 was the 100 years from, was that right? 200 years from 1776.
Right.
And people wanted folk music again, so we got hired and we got back together. Cyrus Fariar, Jerry Esther, Chip Douglas, who produced the Monkees, and myself.
That truck looks kind of familiar. Did that show up in any previous...
That was a truck at the farm, which was a musical commune where Cyrus lived, and many pictures of different people in that truck, yeah.
Very good. This one's great.
I love that one. That truck, Kunkel out in the desert. Somebody was doing some kind of a drum video, I mean, I never saw it. I don't know what it was, but I got a call when you come out to the desert, and that was great. Russ Kunkel at sunset on the desert. I mean, gosh, I never would have thought to take a picture like that. I just saw it and went click, This one is a bit of a story.
Oh, yeah.
We were...
It's America.
It's America, right. And when we did an album cover, Gary Burden and I, we would go on an adventure. The idea was to get the band out of town, away from their girlfriends, away from their managers and telephones. We had no little phones. And so in this case, we rode horseback out onto an Indian reservation. It was about a 2-hour horseback ride. And Gary wanted to bring this big freaking mirror, because his idea was he'd lay it on the ground, and they would stand around and look in it, and I would take a picture like it was a hole in the ground, and I was like looking up or something. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. So we got to after 2 hours, we got to this little date palm oasis, a little pond and palm trees in the middle of the desert. And as it got to be dusk, Dewey Bunnell, who was a naturalist, he loved little animals and things, he saw bats flying around up on the mountain. We're way down here surrounded by hills, and they go way, way up. And as they go, Dewey says, I'm going to climb up there and go look at the bats. And Gary says, why don't you all go? And he says, take that mirror with you. And I go, what the heck? What for, But they did, and they're walking along, and I'm looking through a big 500 millimeter telescope, a telephoto lens. And as they walk, I see a light bouncing up and down. And I said, wait a minute, you guys, stand still, you know. And it was the moon coming up behind us. We couldn't even see it down in the valley that we're in. So the sun is setting over here, and the moon is coming up over here. You know, that was the back of one of their albums.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Now, Garcia and Crosby.
Dave Crosby. Yeah, Crosby one day in '71 asked me if I'd come along with him up to San Francisco to photograph a bunch of people who played on his album. He wanted to put their pictures in the middle of the album.
This was If I Could Only Remember My Name.
That's right, his first solo album. So we went to Grace Slick and Paul Kantner's house in Bolinas, and Jerry Garcia was there, and Phil Lesh, and a bunch of friends, musicians. And so we just sat around all afternoon while they smoked joints and played music, and I just kept taking photos. And that's one.
Now, there's a third person in the far right corner of the frame.
That
Do you
young
remember?
girl. Yes, that is Wren. Wren was a girlfriend of Peter Tork at one time, and I guess a girlfriend of David Crosby, and just a lovely girl.
And this
Happened to be
was
there.
after his girlfriend was killed in
Christina
a car
died,
wreck.
right, it was, a couple years later, yeah. So here we have Chris Isaak. Chris Isaak, I photographed him a lot because he was produced and managed by Eric Jacobson, my good friend who had produced and managed the Love and Spoonful. And so here he was producing Chris Isaak records. And that was at the back of some club, you know, in the afternoon.